year must win for Republicans is the great state of Georgia. Joining us now for an exclusive interview, governor of that great state. I spent 4 wonderful years there. I'm very fond of Georgia. Actually, Governor Kemp is with us. Governor, I ran into the son of Martin Luther King Jr. tonight. We had a long conversation. Really enjoyed my time with him. When I was there, I got to know all the great civil rights icons. Maynard Jackson welcomed me to Atlanta, my first day on the air there. So I have nothing but fond feelings for the people of Georgia. Thank you for being with us.
Hey, great to be on with you, Sean.
Yeah. So I'm glad you're here. I know all that you are doing in Georgia to, and honestly, I know also that it's working. I can see that it's working. The betting markets in Georgia, maybe people didn't notice, Poly Market, for example, shows that, since you have gone all in to get every Republican on the ticket, including Donald Trump elected, that the odds of Trump winning now have jumped, from below 50% to over 64% today. And I would attribute that success to you, your operation that is second to none in the great state of Georgia. What's going on the ground, Governor?
Well, Sean, look, we got to win. We got to win from the top of the ticket on down. I've been saying consistently for a long time we cannot afford another 4 years of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I think, Kamala Harris and Tim Walsh would be even worse. So we need to send Donald Trump back to the White House. We need to retake the Senate. We need to hold the House. We need to hold our legislative majorities that we have in the great state of Georgia. And it takes hard work. That's what we've been doing. We've been in the field since after the 4th of July, knocking doors, really working in swing districts where we have vulnerable legislators, but also making sure that we're turning out the base for the whole ticket so that we win from top to bottom. And I just want to urge everybody out there, we cannot take this for granted. We have got to get the vote out. We got to stay focused. We got to stay focused on the future. We need to do like you just did and like Stephen Moore just did, continue to hammer Kamala Harris's record and the record of, really the Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and the other people that have been really for 12, like Scott Jennings said, Sean, for 12 of the last 16 years punishing the American people. And I was thinking earlier when you were on with Stephen Moore, I feel I know the Democrats have been talking about joy at the convention all week, and I feel like the joy is subsiding. And when the sugar high of the convention subsides, people are going to really start thinking it's not so joyful when I look at my bank account. It's not joyful when I can't make my car payment or my rent payment, or I have to decide whether I'm going to buy gas or buy groceries. And I know former President Trump was at the border today. People have not forgotten the disaster at the border and the millions and millions of illegal people that are in our country that are getting better benefits than some of our hardworking Georgians and hardworking Americans out there.
Governor, are you as surprised as I am at the tax plan, for example, that was announced today, or the whole idea, for example, price gouging when grocery margins, the profit margins are 1.6% historically in line where they've always been? Are you surprised when you hear Kamala talk about decriminalizing illegal immigrants, free housing, health care, education? The fact that she tweeted out the bail fund, wants to get rid of ICE, defund, dismantle, no bail laws on crime, which is it's happening in your state. It's happening around the country. Or no fracking, no drilling. We'd economically, unilaterally disarm. This scares me. Your reaction?
Well, I mean, they're moving back to who they really are, Sean. I mean, we saw that the day they took office when they changed the policies at the border that were working. We know that firsthand. I told somebody the other day, when Donald Trump was in office, we were working with his administration, sending our National Guard troops to secure the border. Now we're having to do that with Governor Greg Abbott in Texas because this administration doesn't want to secure the border. They had complete power in Washington, D.C. The Democrats had the White House, the House, and the Senate, did nothing about the border, did nothing but really ramp up spending, create these bad policies that created 40-year high inflation. Now they're trying to take credit for driving inflation down. They created it to start with, so we don't need to let them forget about that. They're trying to move away from some of those things and flip-flop on their positions. And I think when the convention is over with and the race settles back down, we get past Labor Day, get to the debate, it's going to be really focused on the issues. And changing your position at this stage of the game, we cannot let her get away with that. We need to stay focused on her record. It's been bad when she was in San Francisco and representing the state of California, and it's going to be bad if she gets back in the White House.
You know, Governor, I go back to where I started, and I know you've gone all in to get every Republican, top of the ticket, bottom of the ticket, elected. How do you get that message out? How do you bypass a media that's refuses to play Kamala her radical extreme views in her own words, or Tim Walz his radical extreme views in his own words? What would be your recommendation?
It's you know, you got to raise money. You got to go knock on doors. You got to make phone calls. And then when early voting starts, we got to get the vote out. Every person we can get to go vote Republican from the top of the ticket on down, that's one less person we got to worry about as we move into Election Day. I was at an event today, Sean, with two legislators that are in vulnerable districts. And I asked them, I said, how are y'all feeling? And they said, we're feeling good. We know we're hearing your people are knocking on our doors. They're turning our base voters out, but then we're also trying to get persuadable voters to get out in these tough districts in suburban and metro areas. And then we also got to just keep working hard to run up the score in real Republican counties, you know, in South Georgia. I know J.D. Vance was down in Valdosta today with the Democratic sheriff of Lowndes County, who's a great American, a great Georgian, and a great supporter of President Trump and Senator Vance. And so those are the things that we got to keep doing in Georgia to get the vote out. We cannot take this race for granted.
Yeah, let me ask you this. I know that also you have tackled the issue of, you know, bringing integrity to the election process, basic common sense measures. I don't know why any party would resist proof of citizenship, voter ID, signature verification, updated voter rolls, chain of custody controls, partisan observers watching the voting all day, the vote counting all night. You have taken huge steps in Georgia, Governor, and I think the country can learn a lot from what you've done down there.
Well, when I was Secretary of State, Sean, we sued the Obama administration to implement the citizenship check when you register to vote in Georgia. That's still in place. We've had photo ID since 2006, so we have voter ID in place. As you know, after the 2020 election, we passed one of the strongest elections integrity acts in the country that simply makes it easy to vote and hard to cheat. And we added the photo ID or voter ID requirement to absentee ballots. So we've done a lot to make sure our elections are going to be secure in Georgia. I would urge people, you know, volunteer to be a poll worker, be a poll watcher, get involved in the process. I feel like we're going to have a secure, accessible, fair election in this state. And if we turn our people out and vote from the top of the ticket on down, we're going to put Georgia back in the red column for a presidential race, unlike we did in 2020. But I believe we can do that. We did it in 2022 against Stacey Abrams and the Democratic machine, and I believe we can do it again this year with a lot of hard work between now and November the 5th.
Governor, with your team and your leadership and, you know, you going all in for the country, I think at an inflection point is so critical, so important. I'm very grateful for all you're doing. Governor Kemp, thank you so much for being with us. We hope you'll come back. Thank you, sir. One of the most important swing states by far this